Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sagi Fogwe podcast. I am so excited to have you guys here today. For those who will be joining here shortly, you're very welcome. Today is Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, father figures, anybody who some kids are looking up to, godfathers, stepfathers, uncles who are, look responsible for any kid, or if there's any kid looking up to you, you are a father. And if you're a role model to any children out there, you're a teacher, whatever, educator, whoever you are, we wish you a happy Father's Day today. And that's what our show is about today. It is Men in Business, a special for Father's Day. We have men of three different generations um, who are going to be coming to the stage here and sharing their expertise from different, perspectives, different dimensions, different levels. And so we're really looking forward to this show today. It was specially handpicked, and you're in for a treat. So get a seat, get a pen, get a notebook, and be ready to get some nuggets today as I bring them to the stage. Make sure technology doesn't fail us here, as I'm still learning to be a producer, the MC, and everything all in one. Okay. Chuck, it looks like I have you on two different devices.
I am on. Oh, what?
I'm removing one of them, so I removed one. Well, it's still there. Um, let because you might start echoing.
It has.
Okay, let's see if that works. Is there any echo? No. All right. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Good to have you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so we're gonna go through here. We'll get to know these men. We'll go around and introduce yourselves. And kind of, we lost Chuck. Okay, there we go. All right. So we'll go around, introduce yourselves. Just tell our audience, tell the viewers, your name, your family, situation, and all that, and whatever you want people to know about you, so that if they meet you on the street, they know this is a celebrity who was on the Sagi Fogwe podcast. So they know how to greet you. So we'll start from the eldest to the youngest, I guess. We'll go by age. So this gentleman will introduce himself. He is my dad. So Father's Day, it wouldn't have been, right to not have him on the show today. So, he's the reason I'm here. And so we'll start with him. So Papa, go ahead.
Happy Father's Day to all viewers. I am Joseph Adjimve. As you've heard, Sai is our second daughter. I'm father of 5 children, 4 girls, 1 boy. I am a pastor of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon. I minister here in Dallas. I take care of a congregation that started as a prayer cell and then was integrated into a congregation called Presbyterian Church in Cameroon, USA, Dallas. We are based at West 220 West Kingsley Road, Garland. I'm on this show because I have interest in what Sai is doing with her colleagues, and I come in as one who like to promote initiative, creativity, and spontaneity. And so whatever can promote life, I will support that.
All right, thank you. That's the briefest introduction he's ever given, by the way. So I think Chuck is having some issues. Let's see. Let me. Elvis, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let's try to figure out what's going on here.
Okay. My name is Elvis Langer. currently residing in Baltimore, Maryland, and I own an accounting firm where we offer services to small businesses. We offer tax, accounting, payroll services, and of course, advisory services. If you're contemplating how to set up your business, what form of business is going to be taxed in a certain way, you reach out to us. We're going to advise you on that. And then, of course, most of all, I'm a father and a husband. So, father of two and a husband. My kids, Camilla and Cameron, they're upstairs. So if you hear any stomping, anything, any noise, that's going to be them.
It's part of the journey, right? Being a father.
Yes.
and again, I always brag about Elvis being my personal CPA. So hey, I'm not keeping him to myself. When I find a good client for him, I always refer. I hesitate to refer anybody who will make me look bad. So so I really handpick my referrals to him. All right, we got Chuck back. Chuck, go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
I don't know. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
I'm getting an echo, so I don't know why.
Because you have two, somehow you're on two devices. Two devices.
I am actually on one device, but it seems like I'm signing. I am actually on one device, but it seems like I'm signing on device. I am actually on one device, but it seems like
okay.
actually.
Can you hear? Okay, say something. Let's see. Can you hear? Okay, say something. Let's see.
I am here.
Okay. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Let's see if that works. Okay. If not, you might have to introduce yourself. Might have to sign out. If not, you might have to sign out and then log back in. I think that might be the best thing. Then log back in. I think that might be the best thing.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. Well, while he's coming back, we can start having the conversation here. So let's start with you, Elvis. What got you into business? As a young man, most people leave a different country. They come to the U.S. We have that traditional path of just working for somebody else. How did it happen that a young man already figured out that he wanted to be on his own and do his own thing? How did that come about?
So first and foremost, the desire for independence, right? So you want to be able to set your schedule. You want to know that, okay, at this time of the day, I can be here, I can do this, I can do that. You don't want to be dictated. You don't want to be a robot. So that's number one. And then number two, financial independence, right? You can determine your income. When you work for someone, they're going to dictate how you grow. They're going to dictate how much you make annually. Whereas if you're self-employed, you can say, I'm going to make some extra calls today. I'm going to bring in extra income. And I want to go on this trip. I want to go on this vacation. This is what I need to do. These are the goals I need to set to get to where I want to go. And there was also this thing, me being passed up on promotions multiple times, even though I was arguably the most qualified in the department. And I saw people zoom right by me getting the promotion. So I said to myself, hey, you know what? You got to go out and do your own thing where you can promote yourself as often as you want. So those are some of the things that led me to say, hey, enough is enough. I'm just going out. I'm going to take this risk. I'm going to take this leap of faith and start my own thing.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah, I didn't know about the promotions part. You and I have talked about a lot of things, but I didn't remember. Yeah, that and it's a very crucial point because it happens all the time where you're at a job, you know your worth, you know what you can do, you know what you're capable of, and you get passed over for a promotion for whatever reason. And if that drives you to become that independent person and do your own thing, hey, they did us a favor, right? Because I wouldn't have had the the best accountant. All right, Chuck, we have you back now. Let's get you to introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there. We'll just make this kind of informal and a nice conversation.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Well, good afternoon again. Happy Father's Day to all of the fathers on the platform. My name is Chuck Archibald. I originally hail from the Caribbean island of St. Kitts and Nevis, but I currently reside in the beautiful sunny state of Florida. You can come on down at any particular time if you feel like you need some enjoyment. We welcome you here. In relation to me, I am a preacher by profession, an evangelist. I also a logistic expert. I specialize in exporting things out of the United States. And also, I have been in this business for approximately 25 years. I've had extensive knowledge in this background, dealing with persons from all over the world. I've shipped to Africa, I've shipped to the Caribbean, South America, and even to Europe. And so that is a brief introduction of who I am at this particular time. I have two lovely daughters. One of them is Cassandra, the other one is Cassidy. And they are not here with me today. They should be here listening to this podcast, but they abandoned me on Father's Day.
They'll watch the replay. Don't worry. We'll share the video with them. Yeah. So, yeah. So the preachers are really short today. They're speaking, like I love it. The preachers who are normally very long-winded.
Well, in the interest of brevity.
Yes, and we'll have more conversation, and we, as we're going into it, we're getting to know you guys. But thank you for being here. I know we had some technical difficulties, but the show must go on. So I'm gonna go to Papa here. I'll refer to him as Papa. That's how I call my dad. It's Father's Day, so I get a pass. Not to be professional. So my dad here. Very extensive background. I mean, he can talk on any topic, but I wanted you to kind of talk to young men from a spiritual background. Because we grew up with the notion that to talk about money, you're not humble if you talk about money, or you're not Christian enough if you talk about money. So I want you from a spiritual background to kind of shed some light on this, so that people don't, because sometimes people are afraid to talk about their wealth because they feel like it's they're bragging if they talk about wealth. But from a pastor's background, your theological background, give us some light on that and give us some encouragement in that light, so that young people, and I'm stressing on young people because I want to start from that root going upwards, right? Young people can feel confident in building wealth. They can feel confident in talking about wealth, but then they're hearing it now from a pastor.
First of all, I want to say that wealth depends on work, whereas health depends on wealth, and work itself depends on health. And if you have to live a life on earth, there are four sectors of life that everyone experiences on a daily basis. There is the political sector, which is what you do with people, your relationship with people. You have to deal with people every day. There is the economic sector, which means you have to deal with property, wealth, money. You cannot do anything without money. You can't do anything without some form of resources called money. There's the social sector, which means you have to have some values that sustain you to be able to live and to interact with people. And then the fourth one, which is my area of concern and is a theological sector. which means you cannot do anything without God. So I coined the term pest in order that I can educate people on how to live this kind of balanced life. So in saying about business is an approach to making wealth by independent means. Normally, we grow up thinking that in order to live, you must be a civil servant. You must be employed by somebody, and you have to have a monthly income. And many people think it's only the monthly income that is more secure. If you don't have you're not sure of your monthly income, then you are losing. But I am personally, I've experienced as a pastor, and I made that choice deliberately. I worked in government at the beginning of my career at one time, but I opted to go to the seminary and to become a pastor because I knew that in the church, I will not, even though I depend on the congregation to pay me. In fact, my experience all through has been that the congregation pays me according to how much income they make. And they can only make income if they run the church as a business. I mean, some people will think that I'm off track here, but it is clear that the church runs like a business, whether we like it or not. If you don't mobilize people, you will not have income. If you're not good to people, they will not support you. But if you're a good preacher, a good counselor, a good motivator, you will motivate your congregation to raise money. First, they have to, my teaching is that people have to pay tax. And if you have to pay tax, you must make income. If you don't make income, you must make income that is more than what you will pay for tax. That's part of it. So the same thing in the church, you have to encourage people to be able to get income so they can pay church contribution. And then you depend on that. So business is an independent approach to wealth making. That depends on someone to dictate the timetable, the salary, and the conditions of work. So at this point, I will tell you that some wealth making is not like people say. Money is not. I mean, of course, God does not like people who go after money. I think that I don't know where people got that from.
Or the root of all evil.
Yes, where they got that from. That money is the root of all evil. It is the use of money that is the root of all evil, not the making of money. Because there's no way you can live without making money. God has authorized us to till the soil, to plant it, to harvest it. And if you have it, you cannot eat all that you have. You have to trade. So God has also authorized trading, and trading is business. So in that way, you can see that God has authorized us to make money. And if we make money carefully, creatively, we will be keeping our health and at the same time contributing to the health of the community.
Wow. That's a lot. And if you notice, he always has acronyms for a lot of things, like to get people to understand stuff. He uses the acronyms. He has a lot of sayings that he comes up with, and he'll probably throw a few out here during the course of the day. But to hear this perspective, because growing up, I grew up with this man, and growing up, it was a different perspective for me, because I grew up with that mindset that, I had to be humble, not talk about money, not focus on money. But as you're growing up, these things you start seeing it in a different light. And, to hear it from his perspective is really, it's really helpful to see the different facets, the different levels of what we need to make us a whole. And, I've coined the term for myself, the health and wealth queen, since I'm in the medical field, helping people with their health, and then, helping them with wealth as well. And, and I'm not where I need to be or where I want to be, but I don't want to wait till I'm there. I want to help people along the way to get in that mindset of, making sure that all those sections of their lives, they're good. And then of course the spiritual side, they have their preachers and pastors to to help them with that part. But so Chuck, I'll go to you now. What got you into business? I'm still hearing an echo. I don't know if it's from your end. Let's try this. Let's mute ourselves when we're not talking and see if that helps. I don't know if that will make a difference.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it was from Elvis's end. Okay. But yeah, on you when you're gonna speak, just on mute. So yeah, so Chuck, your turn now. So what got you into the logistics business? And then you can talk about the preacher side too. What got you into that? Um, Elvis kind of gave his story here, and everybody has a story that leads them into that direction, because we all come here, we do work a job before getting it. Oh, I don't know, I don't remember if you went straight into business, or you did kind of work in the workforce first and then switch over to the entrepreneurial side. But just tell us your story and what got you into the logistics business.
My journey was epic in the sense that I grew up with a father who was an intellectual. He was into academics, and he worked for the government in my country for a short period of time. And he was subsequently fired from the government. And my father decided that he would not just sit on his laurels. So he went out and he started his own business college. And so he had that sense of independence for over 60 years until he died. I saw him as a radical, independent thinker, a person who looked at things from different perspective. And so my ethos in terms of business came really from my admiration and my observation of my father's philosophy towards life. Evidently, when I came to the United States, I was working for several institutions here. And one day I was laid off, and I decided, well, that's enough for me. And so after that, I embarked on opening my own company, approximately 1 year after being in the United States. Oh, wow. And that's how I got into the logistic business. I met a gentleman who actually asked me to do some business for him, and he trained me. And after a year, I branched out and began to operate my own company. And I think that it was evident, it was providential for me to get into that direction. As your father said, as I think was Elvis said, our philosophy generally is that we have to be employees of someone else. We have been conditioned, we have been taught in our school system that we should leave school after we have achieved any scholastic knowledge and go out and immediately become a part of the corporate entity. So we have never been taught to work for ourselves, because that is not what society conditioned us to do. And so I believe that it is necessary for us to also, within our demographic in particular, we have to realize that we have to maximize the opportunity of being leaders, and having your own business also define you as a leader, because you're making a contribution to society and to the life of others. So I believe that that is essential, particularly in our demographic, because during our Pan-African slavery experience, we have been conditioned from that far to think that we should be a servant and we should not be a master. And I believe that we have the capacity and the ability to be masters and also create servants and also create other masters. So that's how I looked at it from a business standpoint of view.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's very awesome. Yeah, just the fact that, and then the fact that you came and within a year you were able to, to start a business. Did you receive any resistance from your community? Because that's one thing that when you come here, whoever receives you usually will determine what direction you're going to go. Because most people will come, if you stay with somebody who's a nurse, you end up being a nurse. You stay with someone who's a CPA, you end up being a CPA. You end up staying with a pastor, you'll be a pastor. It's usually like that, or they at least want to direct you in that path because that's what they know. So did you receive any resistance from your community?
Well, in embarking on this journey to come to the United States, I was already a full-time preacher. So I was preaching and directing a congregation while I was there. So transitioning here, I came here merely to continue my ministry. But I realized that I can do the ministry and also venture into something else on my own. I didn't really want to depend heavily on receiving resources from the church. So I decided that if I am going to start a family, I need to have different streams of income. Of course, there were much resistance. Coincidentally, you asked that question because you know that in our community, there is that notion of the crab in the barrel mentality. They don't want to see you rise too quickly. And so, yes, there were enormous amount of resistance. In fact, there were persons in my community who told others not to do business with me because I wanted to become wealthy too quick. And so that was a false notion that is shared. But it is something that I think that we are conditioned, is a behavior. Systematically, we are conditioned to behave in that particular way. But I embarked on showing them in my community that we can think differently, we can look at things from different perspectives. So over time, I went out to try to teach and to educate and to promote the view that there is nothing wrong for an individual within our community to own something, because that is the way we can contribute to the greater community.
And it doesn't take anything away from you to support somebody in your community. We face that all the time where people are only thinking about how you're going to benefit from it and not how they're going to benefit from it long term. I experience that every day with being in the financial services space. You get that all the time. You sit down with someone to talk to them, and they're only thinking, that what is she going to benefit out of this, and not the long-term benefit for themselves. So that's our community. We'll keep educating in segments like this, and go from there. I'm going to shift gears and go over to Elvis. So Chuck kind of talked about the legacy that his dad gave him through, all of that. So I am big on legacy, on teaching our kids something. What is it that you picked up? I know you've told your story, but what is it that you picked up as a legacy that you or didn't pick up that you wanted to make sure that you implemented in your life? And what is it that you want your kids? They're still little. We have time. I still haven't seen them yet. OMG. I keep missing them when I come to Maryland, but we'll make it up. Anyways, what legacy do we want to keep for these two kids for now? You're on mute. You're muted. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So we need to solidify the foundation, right? You have to set up a very, very solid foundation. When you look around the country, you look around, I'm just going to say dynasties in the country, in the United States. You think about the Kennedys, the Rockefeller families, the Bushes, all those people, right? Their dad one day said, or their great-great-great-grandfather, whoever started that legacy, said, I don't want my kids. I know George Bush's, the father, he was a salesman. But one day he got up and said, I'm going to set something on fire that is going to carry on from generations to come, right? And that's why today, when you call the name Bush, everybody knows who the Bush family is, right? And you look at the Kennedys, you look at the Rockefellers, all those things. Someone had a vision and said, hey, I can't be afraid to just go out there and attack the economy and make something out of myself and my family. They said that if someone with 2 eyes, 2 hands, 2 ears, 2 legs can do it, I can do it too. Mm-hmm. And that is what differentiates the achievers from the non-achievers. Mm-hmm. The non-achievers are scared. They don't want to take that leap of faith. They like the security. They want the paycheck every 2 weeks or every week to come through. Whereas if you want to build true wealth and legacy, you just have to take the risk. I'm not saying be stupid. I'm not saying you have to be stupid. You have to take calculated risk and say, I can start something on the side, still have my regular job, pay my bills, and then I build this thing on the side until it gets to a certain level. Then I can move on and continue that path. But when it comes to legacy, when I look around, I just want, as parents, and Pastor is going to be able to attest to this as well. As parents, you always want a better lifestyle, better life for your children than what you have. And that is why I wake up every day and I aspire to just get the best, be the best I can, so that my children can have the best when I'm no longer here.
He's up at 4 a.m. every day. This man in the gym working out before he goes to work. I'm so jealous. But I do work out once in a while, but it's at 5. I don't wake up at 4. All right. So same question for Papa. So I know I grew up and I saw my grandfather, your dad, and I saw how hard he worked, as a tailor. What are some of the things that Grandpa left for you as a legacy, or taught you through your growing up, that you picked up from that kind of shaped you into who you are? And what is it? And I kind of know, I mean, without you saying it, I kind of know some of the things that you want to pass on to us, but just speak it out to the viewers so that we see this, generational, legacy that we're talking about.
Yeah. So my father was a very independent person, and he walked his way through life. He went to Nigeria. He learned how to trade. He learned tailoring, and he learned embroidery. And when he came back, he started his own business of embroidering clothes for his colleagues, first of all, and then people were ordering. I mean, hand embroidery, not now that they do it on machine. And what he did was stay for long. One of the things I learned from him, he first of all, he did not give lectures, but he subjected us to practicing what he did. He would take us out to go down to Modeli or to Benakoma we'll carry things from Womb and go down to Benakoma to sell to the people there, and then we will buy oil from them and bring up and to be sold in Womb. And so from the very beginning, he did this trading. And then secondly, he will go to Bamenda, buy clothes, buy thread, and then come down doing his sewing business. We didn't have, he told us, well, we did not necessarily have to do the same trade as he did, but he encouraged us to go to school. And then in school, we learned many more things. But one practical thing I learned from him was make sure that your expenditure does not exceed your income. And make sure that whatever you earn, save it somewhere. And he joined several Njangi groups, and in most of them, he was well trusted, and he will be treasurer. And he made sure that people's money was safe. So he had the principle of that, of saving money. That's one thing that I learned from him, that keep something away for bad days, because you never know when something will happen, and then you will fall back on it. And of course, we grew up in a society where there were always emergencies. Mm-hmm. Somebody will fall sick, and then you come. I mean, you have to attend to them. If you were a salary earner, you will not tell sickness that let me wait until the month ends, and then when I remember salary, I'll get through. But as a business person, you always have something like a profit that you kept away, and you can go there and then take something, knowing that you replace it. So that's the kind of thing that I learned from him. And also, you have to balance life. I mean, you have to balance life between work, play, and rest. Mm-hmm. And so he was also a cultural person, and he would join his dancing groups. But when it is work, he's serious at work. And then when it is disciplining the children, he's at it as well. So talking about legacy, when Elvis was talking, I remember that I was celebrating Psalm 78 last night, and I mentioned in church today when I'm preaching. Psalm 78 is a celebration of life among the Israelis, and the main message of that psalm is legacy. I mean, God was telling the people, and David was instructing the people that they should pass on good values to the children and let the children grow up being godly people and being people who are acceptable in society. But he want them not to pick up the bad habits of their past generation. So if our generations were people who were dependent only on the salaries, we should teach the younger children now to know that they can move away from that. If our generation, the older generation, were people who borrow money and could not pay, they should be careful that they do not indulge in that. They should leave out those bad habits. Mm-hmm. So for Father's Day, then there are two messages that we have to pass a legacy of good behavior, of independence, of mature, of responsibility, of caring for the family, but tell them to avoid the pitfalls of the past. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we are doing here. What we are doing here, you're asking us then to be able to share some of those things that sustain society. And I think my father did a good job on me. And even with my children bringing up, I've always I made sure that, I mean, they were not too indulged. And one principle I had, of course, was that I meant that for children, they should not make me borrow money at Christmas to buy them Christmas gifts. So I will remember that my children never wore new clothes on Christmas.
Never.
Even if I bought a clothes for you on the 24th, you will not wear it on Christmas. You wear it after, just to teach them that they should not see Christmas as a day when they must wear new clothes. Mm-hmm. So in order to dress them.
Yep. Even though Christmas Day is my birthday, I still could not put on a new outfit on my birthday because I had to follow the rules. But we have one sibling, I won't call her name, who always tried to push the limit to put it on. She'll try to sneak into the car the last minute with the new outfit. And my dad's like, get back, go take it off. Yeah. So, sorry to cut you off. Were you done?
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying that you say that the value I learned from my father, I did not do things exactly as he did, but the principle he gave were good, and this is the spirit of, for those who are involved in business. You have to make sure that you are careful. You balance your income with your expenditure. You don't go into debt. And I understand, like Elvis was saying, he should be in a business where his children will not have to borrow money to go to college. They should be able to, you should be able to work money that you can pay for their college life without having to borrow, and you live all your life paying debts. Mm-hmm. If we can work on that, for any person engaged in business, that is where the advantage they have over salary earners.
Yeah, that's one big thing that is pushing me in that financial space, because I'm a victim of having to borrow to go to school. I'm still paying on student loans, and that's something that I do not want the children to go through the same thing. So, or anybody coming after me to go through that. So that legacy, you might have experienced some things. Because when we're talking, people shouldn't feel like, oh, I fall in that category. I'm here to tell you that I'm in that category, and I refuse to let the next person coming after me go through the same thing. Because some people are like, oh, I went through it, so they should experience it and figure it out for themselves. No, I'm not that person. I'm that person who's like, I crossed over here. I saw a pile of ants, an ant mold. I want you to go around it so that you don't get bitten by the ants. So, and that's what, legacy, it can be either way. You could find the right way, you could do it the right way and pass it on to the next generation, or you figure out what obstacles exist and you want to get rid of those for the next generation. So I do appreciate my dad, and and growing, I didn't know my grandpa went to Nigeria, so through these things I'm learning a little bit more history, family history. But one thing I regret is not really taking advantage of those hand made clothes, even though I would have outgrown them now. But when you're growing up, you don't see the value of something until it's gone. And I tell my kids every day, my dad is here. You have questions, spiritual questions. He's right here. He's a human encyclopedia. Ask him those questions now. Don't wait till he's gone, to ask him those questions. Ask him anything. Have those discussions with him, because he's here.
Well, that's what I did for my father. I used his art and his craft to challenge the church. When we're getting married, I deliberately refused to marry in a suit. And we married in traditional attire, outfit, my wife and myself, because I wore the one that he himself made. I mean, my father made them for us to wear on our marriage day. And so I challenged the tradition that when you have to be married, your wife has to be dressed in white, a gown, and then you have to dress in a suit. I said no. And then, of course, I deliberately choose Christmas Day to be celebrated, so that instead of just the Saturday, because people thought you have to take a Saturday when people are free, and then they have all the time for your marriage. I said, no, I will do it on Christmas Day when people come to church to worship. So that each time that they are worshiping on Christmas Day, they are celebrating my marriage. And that has been like that. And God bless us. And Sahi was born on Christmas Day, on which we were married. And precisely, we were married on Christmas Day on Thursday, and she was born on Christmas Day on Thursday. You can see how God bless us and then made that symbolic in our life.
Yep, the history continues. Okay, Chuck, talk to young people. Young people who are nervous about going into business. Just speak to those people from your heart. Talk to them, give them some confidence here. From if you've told us your story, if you can do it, why people should think about going into it.
Well, I would say that they should not have any apprehension. They should not be skeptical about challenging themselves and taking risks. When we take risks, we're able to understand our full potential and maximize those potential, and also we understand our deficiencies and our inadequacies when we take risks. But I would urge them, if they do get into business, do not overborrow. A lot of the time we overextend ourselves and we place ourselves, as your dad was saying, in too much debt too early, and that paralyzes us, whereby we are not able to escape out of that, and whereby we sabotage our own success because we overborrowed. I would also urge them to be strategic, have a strategic business plan. I think it was Elvis that indicated a vision is important. You have to have a clear vision where you want to go. Why have I gotten into this business? What do I want to achieve from having this business? What contribution do I want to make to the community? So therefore, it is incumbent on them to do what we call a feasibility study of the community that they're investing in, a demographical study as well, so that the service that they're providing is absolutely critical to that particular community that they want to serve. I would also say to them to be competitive, but do not compete with others, compete with yourself.
Yes.
Don't become bitter and vain, but always be positive, always push the envelope, always look for opportunity to develop your idea and to make sure that idea is second to none as you go into business as a young person. I would also say to them, accept failure. Failure is an opportunity to get better. It is not weakness. It is just an opportunity to get better in the future. So these are my advice for them. I would also indicate to young people that it is necessary to be in touch with people like your father, men who are sagacious, men who have wisdom, men who are astute, and who can lend some perspective to them. Speak to people who are successful, not people who have failed and who continue to fail, because they will not have much to offer to you if they have not been in your position. So speak to persons who have been there and who have arrived at the highest pinnacle of their craft so that they can lend some wisdom to you.
Wow, thank you so much. That's amazing. Yeah. Mentorship is very important. I'm always about mentors. You have to have more than one mentor in your life, and that makes a big difference, in how you're going to be successful, the direction you're going to be, and someone who can look at you in your face and tell you you're going the wrong direction and, point you in the right on the right path. So yes, mentorship is very important. So that's the main thing I got out of that too. So yeah, Elvis. Did you want to say something, Chuck?
Yes, I wanted to say something that as well, because sometimes we don't emphasize this. I would say to them is that read widely, extensively, read as much as material as possible. And the reason why I say that, I met a young lady. I was a former insurance man myself. And I met a young lady some time ago, and she said to me that I am not doing well at the insurance company that I'm working at. I can't make enough sale. And my boss said, I have the potential, but I need something else. And I said to her, have you read books? Have you read John Maxwell? Have you read other books that can point you in the path? She said, no, I don't. I never heard of those material. So I said to her, well, here are some books that you can read from John Maxwell. And immediately she took out her phone and she went on Amazon while she was driving with me, and she purchased those books because she wanted to get better. Mm-hmm. She wanted to improve her craft. So it is necessary that we read as much as possible, because information from others also can empower us and can improve our condition.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's a great addition, because we don't read anymore. I remember you curling up reading a book, leisurely before, but now I barely have that time to get it in. But I need to get back to reading. I have a pile on my table here on my to-do list of books that I have to read. All right, Elvis. So Chuck has talked to young people about what to expect if they're getting into business. Once you're in business, please talk from your perspective now as a professional to business owners. What, just, some highlights, things that they need to keep in mind as business owners to keep them on track, to keep them grounded, and make them successful business people.
Okay, so what I'm going to say, anyone ever heard of Zig Ziglar? Zig Ziglar is one of the greatest salespeople of all times, okay? So Zig Ziglar once said, you don't have to be great to start. You have to start to be great. Yep. Okay? So people think, when you see people who are very, very successful, you think it was an overnight success. You don't know what is happening behind the scenes. When they call people hang up the phone on them. And you try to get a deal done, and the deal falls apart the very, very last minute. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, has this anecdote in the book, okay, about a general. I know people always say you don't have to burn your bridges, but this is the only time I'm going to say you have to burn your bridges, okay? So this general, they go into war. As they go into war, the general tells his troops, he tells his battalion, that as we step into the battlefield, we're not going back. So we're going to burn these bridges, because if the bridge is there, we're going to be tempted to go back. So we're going to burn these bridges because we're moving ahead, and we're going to conquer new territories. How do I put that into a business, from a business standpoint? When you're going into business, you don't have to think, oh, I have my job, I'm going to fall back on it. Something happens. Okay, so you got to know that if I'm going into this, I'm going into this for good. I'm going to conquer, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it work. So that's what I just wanted to touch on a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and if you're out there and you're a business owner, or you need a good CPA, he's here. He didn't pay me to say this. I use his services and I know what I get. So yeah, so if you're looking for a good CPA, he's there. But he doesn't take just anybody. Elvis has turned people down. If you have that interview with him and it doesn't vibe, he's not that hungry for money. He will tell you no. He will tell you no, I can't work with you. He's very upfront. So, all right. So we're going to try to round it up here. I might, if I missed anything when I get to you, if there's something you want to add, I want to go around so we can give our final thoughts. I'm trying to keep it below an hour. I'll start with Papa. Anything that you want out of this conversation today for people to walk away with? If they didn't hear anything else you said, one thing that, like, final thoughts that you want our community to really get out of us talking about. We're talking about men in business, fathers in business. We talked today with 3 generations, of men with vast knowledge. I mean, 1 hour is not enough to capture these people's brains. So just one thing, or more than one thing, that you want people to walk away with today. Go ahead.
Well, one thing, one entry point for those who want to venture in business is that the business of being busy is business. You have to settle yourself to be busy, meaning that if you put your hands on the plow, you don't look back. This is scriptural. Mm-hmm. And Jesus, in the parables, taught principles which we can emulate today. When Jesus told the parable of the talents, he was precisely saying that if you have a gift of doing something, do it. And don't be selfish. Because if you are selfish, because you think that you are doing it to benefit some other person, you will demean yourself. But if you succeed, because you are successful, people will recognize your success because you are doing it, and people will benefit from you. That's why Jesus said in the parable, take what this lazy person has not been able to achieve and give it to the person who has it all. Mm-hmm. That is promoting busyness. Be busy on what you are doing and don't lapse. Backsliding is one thing we talk in church only in evangelistic terms. But backsliding, we can use backsliding in every sector of life. Mm-hmm. You backslide for your business, you will lose your focus, and then you go below your income and you get into the red. Mm-hmm. So whatever you do, make sure you maintain the blue in your accounting. Make sure that you're always in your blue. It should not go. I mean, one of the principles I learned earlier as a teacher, as a young teacher, was that never spend more than 50% of your income in a month. Never spend more than 50%. Again, this principle was reinforced by my father, as I told you earlier. So if you keep that in mind in whatever you're doing, then you will focus and you will leave out all irrelevant things and focus on the essentials. And also, as I said, you need some values in life. And the kind of values will be honesty. Mm-hmm. If you're not honest, and because many people think, I mean, I've gone through people who have grown in business by cheating me. Mm-hmm. And they grow very fast. But it didn't last, they fell back. Mm-hmm. But people who were honest and did business honestly were blessed, and they stayed in the business even up to today. So honesty is one of those values that we need. It goes, and honesty, it can be, it sounds spiritual, but in your economic terms, honesty is accountability. Mm-hmm. You should account for what you handle. You should be able to account for whatever passes through your hands. So you should be able to report on it, and you should be open with the people you're dealing with. You should be open, and at the same time, focus your business as a service. In fact, when somebody carries me in an Uber, I thank them. I said, if you were not doing this service, I will not be able to go where I am going. If I enter a restaurant, I eat there, I thank the people who are serving there. Because if they were not there, I will not be able to eat. If I at home, we depend. I always say that the people who sustain life are the tailor, the shoe mender, the shoe mender and the barber. These are people you don't take serious in society. They're not categorized. But these are serious people who are serving society and making money out of it. They may even make more money. We will not, but we make more money, but we don't realize it. So these are the values that I would say teach people to do. Sorry, somebody disturbed me. All right, let me stop here and put off my phone.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Are we good? Are we good? All right. Thank you, Papa, for that. Yeah. And then Chuck, go ahead. Final thought. Am I echoing?
Now you're back.
Okay.
My final thought, essentially, I am going to put it in this particular way. I'm going to refer to something that Dr. Martin Luther King said, the late Dr. Martin Luther King. He said, if you're going to be a sweeper, be the best sweeper in the world. If you're going to be a teacher, be the best teacher in the world. If you're going to be an accountant, be the best accountant in the world. The essence is to always be the best at what you are. Give 150%. He once said that the only thing in life that no one remember is a jellyfish, because it is so transparent. You can't see it when it passes by. So he said, do not be a jellyfish. Be someone that people would remember. Leave a mark on society that when you have gone, people know you were here. Because you have left, as you said earlier, on your legacy. You have left an impact on their life. You have affected them positively. And that is what we ought to do. For young people and for those that need to understand what they need to do in life is to develop proper work ethics. Be industrious. Laziness is not an excuse. You have the talent, you have the ability that God has given to you. Utilize your talent, because you're ultimately, when you use it, you're ultimately making a contribution to others. You're building up others, you're making others better, and you're making yourself better as well. Be honest. Honesty, as your father said, integrity is absolutely important. But I want to say, I have never seen anyone who is successful who is not consistent. Consistency is very important. Keep working at it. As you work at it, you will fine-tune every minute. You will have to go back and reassess and reevaluate what you're doing wrong, but keep going at it, and eventually you will get to where you want to be. I think those things are essential. Challenge yourself. Don't be afraid to look at your weaknesses and to challenge yourself and to develop your strength, and also to maximize the opportunities given to you. And that's what I would say.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, Elvis, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I'm just going to allude to the Chinese bamboo tree. I'm not sure if anyone has ever heard of the Chinese bamboo tree. So the Chinese bamboo tree, it's a proverb, and it also applies. It's also very applicable to business. So when you plant the Chinese bamboo tree, right, it takes 5 years before you see anything. So you're not going to see anything come out of the soil for 5 years. So for 5 years, you still have to fertilize that bamboo tree, those seeds. You have to water those seeds, and you have to keep going. Because the moment you give up, it's done. So the Chinese bamboo tree, what's happening is that during those 5 years, when you're nurturing it, it's planting its roots, it's planting its foundation. So that once it comes out, it takes 6 weeks for it to grow 8 feet in the air. Okay? So what that's saying that when you're building your business, when you're growing your business, you're not going to see results immediately. You have to persist, you have to have faith, and you have to be patient to get that going.
Wow. Amazing. I'm so glad I put this group together because it just flowed as if we did a rehearsal. Everybody's just vibing. I thank you guys so much for being here today, spending your Father's Day with us, and sharing all these nuggets with the viewers. But thank you. Thank you so much. You guys gave so much value. Those who are not watching live, we're going to share this video and they'll watch it. And you're going to change somebody's life. Even all of the nuggets are affecting me too because I'm listening. So some of the things, I have to go read my books. I have to be consistent. I have to make sure I stay in the blue, not the red. I have to talk to my accountants constantly. So I thank you guys so much. Yes, thank you. Until next time, you guys, thank you for watching the Fogwe podcast.
You're welcome. Happy Father's Day.